Okay, so this is going to be a long approach of a CSX freight train. So what happened is I went to my usual spot to film the Amtrak Floridian. I looked down the tracks and I could see the train's headlight, and I'm like, okay, here comes the Floridian. But as it got closer, I could see it was not a passenger, not an Amtrak engine. It was in fact a CSX freight train engine. So the CSX freight train came through, I videoed it, and then just a few minutes after that, the Floridian came through. The speed limit for the freight train is 60 miles an hour. So the Floridian, when it reached me, was doing maybe 50. And then as I was videoing it, it just got slower and slower and slower. I almost thought it was going to stop. It didn't, but it got down to maybe like 10 miles an hour. So I videoed it. I got in my truck. I went to the next crossing. I videoed it at the crossing, and it was still going crazy slow through the crossing. Then I went, after it crossed, I got back on the road and came to a position further north, and then I videoed the Floridian at full speed. The reason it was at full speed is in between there, the freight train pulled into a siding and let the Amtrak Floridian pass. Now I'm at the spot where I got the Amtrak Floridian, and I can see the freight train is approaching, and you can see the headlight. And it was a long, heavy, like rock carrier train, so they're really heavy, and for the engines to get that back up to speed again now takes a little while, and that is why it's going so slow. By the time it gets up near us, it should be at full speed again. So this all ties into, I always get these comments of, why don't we have high-speed rail? How come Amtrak is so slow? Why isn't Amtrak ever on schedule? And this is the answer. The answer is, excuse me, the rail lines are not dedicated passenger rail lines. Almost all these rail lines are freight rail lines that Amtrak runs on. So the freight trains, and you can see here, this is not double track, it's single track. So the freight train and the passenger trains all have to kind of work around each other and pull into sidings and whatnot in order for one train to get to the next place. So example with this is going to be going south to north to Okeechobee, this freight train, but about an hour from now, the Silver Meteor and the Floridian southbound trains are going to be coming. So this train is going to go up this track a while, and it's either going to stay on the track, and the Floridian and the Silver Meteor are going to have to pull into sidings to let this go, or it's going to have to pull into a siding to let the southbound Silver Meteor and the southbound Floridian get by. And I can see this train does have its ditch lights going. So it is starting to pick up some speed. It'll be here in a few more minutes. This particular rail line was not originally built by a freight train company. This rail line was built by Seaboard Airline Passenger Company to bring people to West Palm Beach and Miami. This rail line was built 100 years ago. When it was built, I'm just going to pan over here. This highway was not in existence. There wasn't even a dirt road there. There was nothing. There was only this rail line and this right-of-way. I'm going to move the camera over just a little bit. Sorry about that. Let me get this back in focus. There we go. All right. He's still about a mile away. It should be picking up some speed soon. You can see down there is another crossing down there, and it hasn't activated that crossing yet. So it must be going pretty slow still. It's still trying to pick up speed. The passenger trains, because they're pretty light, can accelerate quickly and stop quickly. These big freight trains, there's no way. There's too much weight, too much momentum, and it takes a long time to stop them, and it takes a long time to get them going again. So now it's going through that crossing down there, and we will get activation of this signal. There we go. All right, here we are.